Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Around the Nation, right here, TOT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Hope you all had a great weekend. We're back. We got a lot of great stories. Finally, it's the first time being back on a Monday in a couple of weeks. But of course, June has been just an insane month. Most of you already know why. So it's nice to kind of get back into the swing of things. So anyway, got a great show today. We've got a lot of different topics here. We're going to talk about Eric Prince, Blackwater. He might be in a little bit of trouble. Interesting. We'll also talk about that restaurant that kicked out Sarah Huckabee Sanders. What do I think about that? And also President Trump's reaction. That's fun. We also have one story about immigration. We do have due process. So that's very, very important. Due process for migrants, for asylum seekers. That is an interesting story. All right. And then we also have Harley Davidson and the effect of the Trump tariffs. What's happening there? Obviously, disaster after disaster. And finally, we'll talk about that Walgreens story that went viral over the weekend as well. So, like I said, a lot of stories. A lot of fun stuff to get to. So, stay tuned for the next hours. We go around the nation for some of those fantastic stories. All right. Anyway, before we get started, I want to remind everybody, please give us a like and a share. Help share out the stream. That helps a lot. And if you want to participate using the Super Chat, whether you send story suggestions, which I have used in the past and I am definitely open to using, you can do that, or you can leave a comment or ask a question, whatever you'd like to do. Use the Super Chat to do that because that goes to help the show. All right. Now, I suppose let's get to it. Let's start out with Eric Prince. Now, Blackwater founder Eric Prince might be in a little bit of trouble. Recently, I reported that he is now cooperating with the Mueller investigation. Turns out we have more information now. According to ABC News, Mueller now has Eric Prince's electronics. So ABC News reported on Monday that the military contractor's electronics were turned over to the special counsel after the news broke, of course, that he is cooperating with with the federal investigation. Now, of course, he's under investigation for a little bit of a secret meeting in the Seychelles, I think, shortly after Trump was inaugurated. That was intended to establish, allegedly, a back channel between the administration and Russia. Now, look, if you want to set up a back channel for, I don't know, diplomatic means, it's shady as hell. Is it illegal? I don't know. Considering that there is a federal probe into it, there are elements that could end up being illegal and possibly bad for Eric Prince. Now, let me give you some details on that. In May, the New York Times revealed that in sworn testimony before the House Intelligence Committee last November, Prince may have lied to investigators, claiming he had no formal communication or contact with the Trump campaign. Now, in August of 2016, the report noted the Blackwater founder arranged a meeting between the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., and Arab officials who were interested in helping his father win the election. So, well, you're not exactly supposed to work with other countries to help your father's campaign, which we were a part of, win an election. It's not good whoever does it. I mean, like, for example, if you found out that Hillary Clinton was trying to collude with the Saudis or Russia itself, well, then that would be an issue. And Republicans, had she won, would probably be hammering on that right now. And look, if it turned out to be true, then yes, that is a big, big deal, right? Now, there is more. In April 2017, the Washington Post also reported that Prince had traveled to the Seychelles in January following Trump's election for a secret meeting with a Russian official with close ties to Vladimir Putin. Well, that is very interesting. Prince testified before the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence in November that he hadn't made the trip to meet any Russian guy, and described his meeting with Kirill Dmitriev, somebody who is obviously a Russian guy, as a chance encounter over a beer. Look, is it true? I don't know. It might be. It might be he was just sitting at a bar in St. Petersburg and just ran into this guy. Who knows, right? And then they maybe facilitated or attempted to facilitate business afterwards. This is all Eric Prince's word, so we don't know. That's why they're doing an investigation. Now, ABC News also reported earlier this year that Mueller had obtained evidence that calls that testimony into question. Lebanese-American businessman George Nader, a key witness given limited immunity by Mueller, told investigators that he set up the meeting in the Seychelles between Prince and Dmitriev. Sources familiar with the investigation told ABC News. Documents obtained by Mueller also suggest that before and after Prince met Nader in New York a week before the trip, Nader shared information with Prince about Dmitriev. Oh, but no, it was just a chance encounter over a beer. Right. Okay. Now, look, the case against Eric Prince obviously is made a little bit stronger because of business associates also talking to investigators. Two of Prince's former business associates, both of whom asked to remain anonymous, told ABC News that they had been contacted by investigators probing a pair of proposed business deals between a Hong Kong-based security firm, Frontier Services Group, of which Prince is the founder and chairman, and Russian nationals. One former business associate, who's worked with Prince since the 1990s, recounted a recent conversation with FBI agents from Mueller's office. The associates asked him, said that agents asked him these questions. Are you aware of any falsehoods in the testimony that Eric Prince gave to the House Intelligence Committee? The associates said he told the agents about Prince's previously undisclosed alliance with Dmitry Strashinsky, a former Russian Special Forces soldier turned arms dealer and manufacturer. Now, look, Eric Prince founded Blackwater. Now it has a different name. They did extensive damage in Iraq. They were basically a mercenary group for hire. And they were involved in a famous scandal where, of course, innocent people were killed by Blackwater guards. So him making deals and talking to arms dealers and manufacturers, that's still shady, but also something I think that somebody in that position would actually do. And that is scary because you have a private corporation, Blackwater, speaking with arms dealers. It just, I don't know, for me it goes too far. Just the fact that we have these private security corporations, these security contractors operating in places all over the world with almost no accountability. It's scary. And look, they don't just operate all over the world. They've also operated in the United States. And that's also incredibly scary. There were there's private security contractors. I believe it was Tiger Swan that was in North Dakota for the Dakota Access pipeline protests. That's scary, man. It is. Now, there's more here. According to a 2015 interim report from an internal investigation conducted for the company by an outside law firm, a man named Dmitry, whom two sources later told ABC News was actually Strashinsky, acted as Prince's partner in an effort to secure a possibly illegal private security contract with Azerbaijan. The internal investigation, first reported by The Intercept earlier this year, was turned over by the U.S. Department of Justice prosecutors at the end of President Obama's second term. The findings prompted two senior company officials to resign in protest over Prince's activities. Now, for that proposed contract, named Project Zulu, Prince and Strashinsky, a dual Russian-Israeli citizen, each stood to make $21 million, or 20% of the proposed $216 million deal, according to an interim report. The deal, however, fell through over financial disputes. So that's what they're doing. They're possibly doing illegal deals with Azerbaijan. And then, of course, trying to set up back-channel meetings between the administration and Russia. Probably also in order to get special arms deals. It's not a good situation. I don't know. I'm not buying that Trump's trying to create a private armory or anything like that, but he certainly has not clamped down on them, and neither did the Obama administration. But and that in itself has its own problems. But this is incredibly scary. How much power these private security arms companies have. It is incredibly scary. Now, as far as Prince goes, look, he might have lied to investigators. He might have lied to Congress. He might have lied to a lot of people, and he might have done some illegal things. That's what they're going to find out. Now they have his cell phones, and they have his computers. So we're going to have to see what happens with this investigation as it goes forward. But it is getting fairly serious. Okay. Let's move on. All right. Now, on Saturday, Sarah Huckabee Sanders said that she was asked to leave the Red Hen restaurant in Lexington, Virginia. Now, using her official press secretary account and not her personal one, that's actually very interesting, she tweeted out, "Last night I was told by the owner of the Red Hen in Lexington to leave because I work for POTUS and I politely left. Her actions say far more about her than about me." Well, that is true. Maybe not in the way that Huckabee Sanders intended it to be, but it is true. Now, she said, "I always do my best to treat people, including those I disagree with, respectfully, and I will continue to do so." Now, look, you guys, I remember showing you interaction between the White House press corps and Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Now, one of those times, and there have been multiple times, where Huckabee Sanders would basically insult the intelligence. Well, that's what she does on a daily basis, to be fair. But insulted the intelligence of a reporter for asking a question about immigrant-child separation. Oh, but no. I treat everybody with respect, even if I disagree. Right. Now, anyway, her dad came out later on Twitter. That's, of course, Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas. He said, "Bigotry on the menu at Red Hen Restaurant in Lexington, Virginia. Or you can ask for the hate plate, and appetizers are small plates for small minds." Well, I love how he's got the righteous indignation going on here. Oh my God, it's bigotry against a white conservative serving in the Trump administration. How dare you? Now, let me be clear here. I actually don't want people thrown out of restaurants for their political opinion. I don't. I generally don't appreciate that. But in this case, I'm not going to shed a tear for Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Why? That's because this is the same administration that supports not serving gay people or not letting transgender people use the bathroom that they're comfortable with. That's the same administration that supports these terrible positions. Now you're going to cry about being politely asked to leave? Get out of here. Save your tears. Now, the owner here, Stephanie Wilkinson, she came out later on and she explained to the Washington Post that the situation, Sanders had already been served. So she already had her food, her and her guests were already in their meal when she found out, and she decided to approach the press secretary and have a little chat outside. Now, she said, quote, "I explained that the restaurant has certain standards that I feel it has to uphold, such as honesty and compassion and cooperation. I'd like to ask you to leave." Sanders then replied, "That's fine, I'll go." The press secretary walked out, and others at her table followed. Wilkinson said, "They offered to pay. I said, no, it's on the house." So they ended up getting like a free half a meal. All right, not bad. Now, Wilkinson said, I would have said the same thing again. We just felt that there are moments in time when people need to live out their convictions. This appeared to be one. Now, you could say that she had a strongly held belief that the current administration, especially their handling of immigrant families, happened to be immoral. Well, it's the principle of the thing, right? So I guess the free market decided, hey, conservatives, how's that free market taste? Does it taste like freedom yet? Just asking. I mean, it turns out if you do terrible things, or if you defend terrible practices, or if you get up and lie in front of the American public all day, every day, then it turns out that there are places where you are going to be unwelcome. Again, I don't feel comfortable with kicking people out of restaurants for their beliefs. Then again, if their beliefs are that abhorrent, I might entertain it. So look, again, I disagree, but it's hypocrisy, right? And that's the problem. If you support not letting gay people get served at certain establishments because of who they are, well then, hey, I'm not gonna be surprised if you get treated the same way. Look, a majority of Americans are not in favor of the policy of family separation, and that's what this is all about, as well as many other policies that are enacted by the Trump administration. So don't be surprised when you get treated that way, when you treat other people that way. Conservatives, this is what you wanted. There's a free market at work. It's what you got. It's just funny how people who defend Sarah Huckabee Sanders also happen to defend the free market at the same time. That same free market that just schooled your ass. It's irony at its finest. Okay. Move on. All right. So President Trump has taken some time out of his busy schedule of golfing and planning to do Space Force to defend Sarah Huckabee Sanders after she was asked to leave a Virginia restaurant. Now, earlier this morning, he tweeted out, quote, "The Red Hen restaurant should focus more on cleaning its filthy canopies, doors and windows, badly needs a paint job, rather than refusing to serve a fine person like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I always had a rule. If a restaurant is dirty on the outside, it's dirty on the inside." Well, look, to be fair, Donald Trump, he knows dirty. Turns out his own restaurants have had a bit of a problem. Mar-a-Lago, for example, Florida's Division of Hotels and Restaurants, had cited 13 health violations at Trump's resort in January of 2017. This wasn't 20 years ago. This wasn't 10 years ago. It was just last year. They were docked with 13 different health violations. Oops. Now, they are, but not limited to, serving raw or undercooked fish. Now, look, if you're ordering sushi, well, that's one thing. If you order like the salmon and it's half cooked, well, that's a bit of a problem. Not only that, but meats being stored at unsafe temperatures and coolers that were filled with rusty shelves. Yummy. Oh, it sounds great to go to Mar-a-Lago. Don't you guys want to go? Meanwhile, the Red Hen, which President Trump claims is filthy, dirty on the inside, they reportedly passed their February 2018 inspection with a total of 0 violations. Oops. Be careful when you throw stones, especially when you live in a giant orange glass house. Now, look, here's what this is, right? So that's his press secretary. She was kicked out. She was asked to leave a restaurant because she works for the Trump administration. She's one of the most visible faces in the Trump administration. President Trump feels slighted by this. It hurts his little feelings. And so, of course, he goes on his official account as president, singles out this small business, and basically gives his followers permission to go and attack this business. An attack they have. Since Trump and Sanders tweeted about it, Red Hat on Facebook and Yelp has seen a massive influx of incredibly negative reviews. Well, again, free market. Now, that's funny. I keep mentioning that they used their official accounts. President Trump used his official president account, POTUS account, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders used her official press secretary account. Now, there's a reason that I bring that up, and it's because it happens to be an ethics violation. Another, oops. Now, according to an ex-ethics chief, Walter Schaub, who explained on Twitter, Federal Law 5 CFR 2635.702, which prohibits government employees from using their position for personal gain or endorsing a product or business. Now, so you can't endorse a product or business. Oops, Trump has already done that. And of course, promoting, for example, Ivanka's business. But you also can't do the opposite. Using a government position to punish an operation by discouraging patronage also happens to be illegal. Oops. 5 CFR 2635.101 details the basic obligation of public service, requires that employees shall act impartially and not give preferential treatment to any private organization or individual. Now, Sanders, he explained, can lob attacks on her own time, but not using her official position. Former Obama administration White House lawyer Ian Bassin agreed and said that Sanders' tweets violates federal ethics rules. He said, "At the White House, we trained all staff that they couldn't use their White House titles or resources like a Twitter account for personal uses." Oops. So, do you think that's going to stop Donald Trump? No, of course not. Ethics. Do you think he cares about ethics at all? No. President Trump is a deeply unethical president. The whole point of him being president is to enrich the Trump family. That is through taxpayer money, by the way. He wants to rob us and give it to himself and his friends. He doesn't care about ethics. Again, he's already attacked other businesses. Now, in this case, it wasn't small business. For example, Nordstrom's, right? He said that they were so unfair to Ivanka Trump and her brand. You shouldn't be tweeting about that stuff. You should be off actually being president and doing things. But he doesn't care. He gets involved in this because it hurts his feelings. And he uses the official title of president in order to go after his business enemies and to help his friends and his own business. That's the problem. This administration is incredibly corrupt. And not only are they corrupt, but they're ethically as well as morally bankrupt. And maybe Trump has been bankrupt 6 times in a real sense. The only reason that they're in office is to enrich the donors and to enrich themselves and attack their enemies. The administration and the Republican Party and their defenders are the antithesis of everything that would actually make America great. They're not making America great again. And that was never their plan. It was always to enrich themselves. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break. We'll come back. We've got some more serious news. For example, rule of law and due process. A couple of things that are actually very important. We also have the tariffs, what effect they're having, and finally the story about Walgreens. You're not going to want to miss that. So stay right here. We'll come back. We got more stories. Send your super chats. Please like and share the stream. We'll be back in a couple minutes. everybody, welcome back to the show. Run the Nation right here, TWT Nation. So I just want to address real quick, and I'll probably do a story that's a lot more in depth tomorrow. But the situation in Turkey. So Turkey just had some elections, and Erdogan, who is the current leader of Turkey, won again. And this time he has more sweeping constitutional powers. That is disastrous. So he has a lot more expanded powers. CNN says that Erdogan starts a new 5-year term as president with new powers granted in a narrowly won referendum. Now, under the new system, the office of prime minister has been abolished, parliament's powers curtailed, and the president is accorded wide-ranging executive authority. You know what that sounds to me? That sounds like a dictatorship. So that's incredibly sad. Turkey used to be a secular democracy, a secular republic, and now they, of course, fallen into right-wing authoritarianism, which with religious undertones. That is not good. Not a good development for the Middle East. Not a good development for the Turkish people. So I'll have a more in-depth story about that tomorrow, of what happened, and not good. Right-wing authoritarians, man, are popping up in a lot of different places, and it's really scary to watch. Okay, so let's move on back to U.S. news on immigration. Okay. Nope, that's it. Speaking of dictatorial regimes, President Trump has just called for the elimination of due process for migrants seeking asylum in the United States. On Sunday, he tweeted, "When somebody comes in, we must immediately, with no judges or court cases, bring them back from where they came. Our system is a mockery to good immigration policy and law and order." Wait. Bring them back from where they came. I think he meant send them back from where they came. But anyway, but that's not the most important part of the tweet. Obviously, it's, we must immediately, with no court cases or judges, send them back. That is the elimination of due process. You just said law and order. You said law and order in the same tweet, while saying I want to get rid of due process. Due process is law and order. Holy crap. Look, these people, again, on immigration, these people are seeking asylum, right? If you want to seek asylum in the United States, you have to present yourself to officers at the border, right? So they will arrest you, bring you into the country. Now, look, these asylum seekers, they do that because they want to have a chance to make their case of why they should be allowed to come into the country, to be granted asylum. Well, if you don't have judges or courts, then they can't ever make their case. Trump says, no, I don't want to hear their case. I don't care about their case. All I want is these people gone. I don't want those people here. Those referring to people from South America. Well, that's problematic. Look, where are the conservatives, by the way, who are law and order conservatives, who actually care about the Constitution? Where are they? Where are they? I hear nothing. There's nothing from the Ben Shapiros of the world. Nothing. Why? Because they don't care. They never cared about law and order. They just hate immigrants when they're poor. And so, look, let me bring something in here that I don't think gets discussed enough. It's not just about naked racism with Trump. Yes, that's definitely a part of it, right? But I think it also has to do with his contempt for poor people. Because President Trump despises poor people. He thinks that if you're poor in America, like, you're not worth anything to me, except for maybe the fact that I can dupe you into voting for me and to supporting policies that help me and my family and my donors. That's what it's about with Trump. Look, he doesn't think poor people should be allowed to golf. Oh, no, that's a rich man's sport. They shouldn't be allowed in the golf course. That's our game. He even bragged a couple of days ago about being more elite than the elite. He is an elitist. He even said he's an elitist. He is not for poor people. So he doesn't care about poor people. He doesn't care about poor Americans. So when it comes to poor asylum seekers from Central America, you think he gives a shit at all about this? No, he hates them more. Look, if you're a poor person running from one of these countries that is filled with drug violence from our drug war, so we help empower the cartels with our drug war, they go and they kidnap people and they traffic people. They sell people into slavery. They kill them, murder them, kidnapping, all these terrible things. That these families, they want to leave. They want to escape that. So they try to come here. And they go through Mexico and they go through these horrendous conditions and a very, very long trip that is very, very difficult to do to try to make their case. Trump says, no, I don't want to hear them. I'm going to get rid of the judges. I want to get rid of the court system. I want to get rid of the court cases. I just want to send them back because I hate them so much. I hate them. Look, racism is ingrained in Trump, and so is classism. So, again, he hates poor people, but he hates poor foreign people even more. Look, all of this matters because this is a president that doesn't care about the law, while saying that he is the law or implying that he is the law. I believe that he thinks that he is more powerful than he is. Why can't I do that? Why do the courts always go against me when I order something? Well, you didn't get elected to be king. You didn't get elected to be a dictator. This isn't Turkey. This is the United States of America, and we have checks and balances on our system. At least for now. But now here he is calling for the destruction of due process. Now, if you don't think that doesn't affect you, if you don't think that that will have a negative influence on Americans or effect on Americans, well, then think about this, right? So, without courts, without, court cases and judges to determine whether or not somebody's a citizen, what's to stop ICE from coming in and kidnapping political enemies who happen to probably be Latino, black or brown, and deporting them? Well, now, wait a minute. That'll never happen. They're American citizens. How do you prove citizenship if you don't have a court? How do you prove citizenship if you don't even make a case? They could literally come in, take people from their homes, and then send them off to another country overnight. You don't think that could happen? We didn't think a lot of things could happen before the Trump administration. I know it's not happening now. I know that. But that's what this could lead to if this were ever to happen. That's why due process is important. That's why we have to protect due process. This is not a road I want to go down. We've got to get rid of this madman. I think the best way to do that, number one, is to check his power. How do we check his power? Well, we make sure that there are people in Congress that will oppose these policies. Midterms are coming up. We've got to do this through the electoral process, right? And in the midterms, there are a lot of great progressives who won their primaries against corporate establishment Democrats. And there are still other primaries left to go. So, look, if you want to put a check on Trump till 2020, vote in those primaries. And then vote in the general election, too, in November. And then finally, in 2020, also get involved. If you want progressive policy and not just to stop Trump, well, then these are really, really important elections And I urge everybody not to skip out on those. You can make a difference. You've got to get out there and you've got to vote. I think I'm fairly clear. Okay. Now, the Trump tariffs have already claimed some casualties. This time, Harley-Davidson is reported to have been moving production of motorcycles bound for European countries out of the United States, citing rising costs from European Union tariffs on its products. Well, now wait a minute. I thought the Trump tariffs were supposed to protect American jobs. Oops. Uh-oh. And the filing said the company said in a filing on Monday that the EU tariffs on motorcycles, which are put in response to our tariffs on Europe, will now be, The company said in a filing on Monday that the EU tariffs on motorcycles exported from the U.S. rose from 6% to 31%. Now, those tariffs, they're supposed to be to protect American jobs, but that's not happening. These jobs are not being protected, and in fact, we're actually losing jobs. It's stupid to start a trade war with our allies, but that's unfortunately what we're doing. Now, the Associated Press reported that motorcycles bound for European countries will now be produced in overseas factories. Now, I reported recently on a new factory being built in Asia. Well, isn't that wonderful? So here go more American jobs that are going overseas. That is the whole opposite. That's the opposite of what you claim that these policies would actually accomplish. Well, congratulations. How's that trade war working out? Look, yes, this has cost American jobs. I don't know how many it's going to cost. Maybe several hundred, possibly more. The problem is, this was done for no purpose. There is no purpose to these tariffs. I can understand putting on a tariff that actually does something for, it's like tactical, right? A tactical tariff that is meant to produce a particular result. These tariffs are not tactical at all. There's literally no purpose other than to start a ridiculous trade war that President Trump thinks he can win. Turns out, they're not easy to win. Now, he said, quote, in a tweet that, oh, no, don't worry about it. Trade wars are really good and they're super easy to win. If you do this, you're a winner. No, we're not winners. Okay? Turns out this whole international trade thing is a little complicated. Who knew? Who knew it would be difficult? And of course, this impending trade war is already having negative effects. For example, Daimler Chrysler warned last week that escalating tension between the U.S. and China would impair their earnings in its Alabama SUV plant and lower their profits. You know what that means? It means less jobs for American workers. And here's the thing. I'm not against tariffs. It's just, if it's done right. If it's done right, there is some protectionist policy that makes sense. However, Trump is not sophisticated. He's not a very stable genius. So a lot of these tariffs, many of which have ended up on our allies, are actually devastating. Now, there is some good news on this, if you could call it that. Wall Street's in chaos. The stock market has plunged. Dow Jones is down over 400 points. That's billions of dollars that they're losing. That's in the first few hours of the first day of trading. Now, why is that good? Well, for one, big corporations are not going to be happy with President Trump. See, here's the thing. Look, Trump can do, according to Wall Street, pretty much whatever he likes. I mean, especially when it comes to cutting taxes and regulations. They love that, man. They love the Trump tax cuts. They went and put billions of dollars, I think over $1 trillion collectively, into buying back their own stocks. Oh, they love Trump on economic policy, at least when it comes to cutting taxes and regulation. But the one thing that they won't allow him to do is to mess with that profit. A trade war with Europe, a trade war with Canada and Mexico, that messes with their profits. And when that happens, they're going to come down on him like a ton of bricks. Now, look, again, I don't care about Wall Street and their profits. I don't give a damn. I don't believe that there should be a billionaire, right? There should be no such thing as billionaires. Anything over, like, you hit $1 billion, anything after that, 100% taxed and redistributed to the poor. I said it. The thing is, though, I do care about people who are actually hurting. I do care about the workers that are going to get fucked over. It's not the company that's going to be hurt going overseas. It's the workers that are going to get hurt when that company goes overseas. Not only that, but look, we have farmers that are also being hurt. Soybean farmers and other people that are being impacted by these retaliatory tariffs that the EU is putting on us for us putting it on them. Now, look, that's what I care about. And actually, if Wall Street forces Trump to walk back these tariffs, that's actually a good thing. Because this overall, just blindly throwing on tariffs on everybody, that is bad policy and bad for America. If Trump thinks he's going to strong arm these corporations into abiding by his stupid tariffs, no, he doesn't know who's actually in charge. We've known for a long time the United States is an oligarchy. The corporations control everything. And so the corporations are happy under Trump as long as they get the tax cuts and deregulation, as I keep mentioning, as long as their profits remain strong. But if something goes and challenges those profits, it's not going to go well. He's going to lose all support. Now, they're going to do what Harley did, right? Number one is go elsewhere. And then the workers are going to be fucked over. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to blame Trump. Guess what Harley just did? They blame Trump. They blame Trump and the Trump tariffs. All these companies are putting the blame and saying, look, it's President Trump's fault that we're moving. Get mad at him. Well, those are the people that voted for him. It's not going to go well if this continues. And Trump is determined to continue with these ill-conceived tariffs. They do nothing but isolate America. And they hurt jobs without any sort of benefit for the American worker. This is just more idiotic policy from our blunderer in chief. And we have to reverse these policies somehow. And yes, we need trade, but we need fair trade. And we're not going to get it by doing what Trump is doing. Okay. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take another quick break. We'll come back with our final story. So stay right here. Also, make sure if you have a suggestion or a comment or anything, send those super chats. I appreciate that because that goes to help the show, story suggestions, etc. So, anyway, we'll be back in a minute. Stay right here. Round the Nation. Welcome back to the show. Around the nation, right here. TYT Nation, Jeff Waldorf here with you. Space Force. Too much fun. Okay, anyway. So, let's dive into the last story here. Very serious story. About denying service. Okay. Now, over the weekend, there was a story that went viral of a Arizona woman that was denied a prescription based on the moral objection of her pharmacist. Now, this was 35-year-old woman named Nicole Ortega. Now, she was denied medication that was prescribed to her by her doctor that would terminate her 10-week-old pregnancy. Now, in case you think that this is just somebody who just wanted to go and get an abortion, no, that's not true. Actually, she had been to the doctor during her pregnancy checkup. She was getting ultrasounds, doing everything that she was supposed to do in order to help the baby grow. See, she wanted this child. However, unfortunately, the doctor had to give her heartbreaking news. It said the baby's development had stopped. There was no heartbeat. The pregnancy would end in a miscarriage. Now, Ortega went to her local Walgreens after this doctor's visit because she had two choices. She could get medication that would help her deliver the miscarriage or, get rid of the miscarriage, or she could do a surgery that was rather invasive. So she opted for the medication. Now, when she went to go and get that medication from a Walgreens in Peoria, Arizona, she was turned away. A Walgreens pharmacist, according to her, had refused to fill that prescription. Now, she said, quote, "I don't have any control over my body and I don't have control of the situation. I was seeking help from medication that I needed and he refused. I completely lost it and was in tears." Now, this happened on Thursday. She says, "I didn't want to need those pills. This is not how I wanted my pregnancy to go, but this is my situation." She said, "I stood at the mercy of this pharmacist, explaining my situation in front of my 7-year-old and 5 customers behind, only to be denied because of his ethical beliefs." Now, this is in a Facebook post that went viral on Saturday. Now, she said that the pharmacist did not explain any further his position, just said that, "I'm sorry, I can't do it." Well, now, wait a minute. She explained her position, the fact that she has a pregnancy that has stopped, a fetus that is dead, and that she was prescribed this medication in order to end that miscarriage. So what would be the disagreement here? What would be the ethical problem? It's not like that child is alive. It's not that she was trying to end the pregnancy, which, of course, she would be absolutely within her rights to do so, and I support her rights to do so. But instead, he's like, no, I don't care what your situation is. I'm still not going to prescribe that medication. That's ridiculous. In fact, Ortega said his mind was pretty much made up. "I tried to explain to him, I have to take this medication because it's an undeveloping fetus inside of me, and he still refused, standing there silent and looking at me." Now, look, can you imagine that? Losing the baby that you wanted to have. She wanted that child, and she has had miscarriages before. So she has a problem being able to get pregnant and give birth. Now, she has a son already, but she wanted another child. Unfortunately, that did not work out for her. And for this guy to sit there in judgment of you and refuse to give you medication that you were prescribed, it's got to be just horrific. Not only embarrassing, but just horrible. Look, you think he's being pro-life. He's not. That child's already gone. There is no life there to protect. You're not saving anybody. So what are you doing sitting in judgment of a person who is already in pain and mourning? No, you're making it worse for no reason. And look, having a fetus that is undeveloped inside of your body, that is dead, can pose a health risk as well. It just doesn't make any sense. Again, you're not taking a moral stand against abortion because it's not an abortion. What do you expect her to just have it naturally? There are some conservatives out there that argue, no, you should carry your miscarriage, your dead fetus to term. Why? What's the point? There is no point. But again, it's all about some people's morality. Look, now, she did end up getting the medication later. That pharmacist did send that prescription to another Walgreens, but it didn't happen until around Saturday. Now, she was able to pick it up with no issues at the other location. Now, Walgreens said in a statement on Saturday that pharmacists are allowed to step away from filling a prescription anytime they have a moral objection under company policy. So, unfortunately, this is a policy that Walgreens supports. And this is, unfortunately, also something that people are able to do, thanks to the Hobby Lobby decision. So, they're able to use their own quote-unquote moral judgment in order to whether or not to decide whether they can give you a prescription or not. So now, basically, you're allowed to, if you have a strongly held religious belief, not give someone medication. I think that's disastrous, and it's ridiculous. Now, under that policy, employees are required to refer the prescription to another pharmacist or manager to ensure the needs of the patient are met in what they call a timely manner. Well, Thursday, Saturday. She went to go pick it up on Thursday. They didn't fill it until Saturday. That doesn't sound timely to me. Now, here's the thing, right? Now, it could have gone sooner. But what happened, and this is the most frustrating part for Ortega, is that there were other employees there. There were people at the drive-thru window. There were other pharmacists there that were working. So she's like, okay, I understand that you have an objection to this. I don't know why, but can you get one of these other people to go and help me then and get me the medication? No. That was his answer. No, I'm not going to let other people around me do the same thing. You can go somewhere else and get that medication, but you're not getting it from me while I'm here. You can come back to this location later after I'm gone. Well, now wait a minute, though. You are actually, I don't like the Walgreens policy to begin with, but he was also being worse than the Walgreens policy, because that policy said, well, okay, look, if you're uncomfortable, you can step away and get somebody else to do it. He wouldn't even do that. He said, no, I'm not going to do it. I refuse. I'm going to stare at you blankly and I'm going to judge you. That's shit. Now, Walgreens, of course, is looking into the situation, and a representative said that somebody reached out to Ortega to apologize for how the situation was handled. However, Ortega says, no, they didn't. They didn't reach out. They didn't do anything. In fact, she only spoke to somebody from the company when she called to complain to the manager of the Peoria store. Now, the manager did not even offer an apology at the time. So, I mean, look, you got a company that's like, we have a policy that says that you can't get this medication if our pharmacists don't feel comfortable giving you that medication. Well, that happened, but he also said, you can't get it from anyone working around me at all. She complained about it, and nobody took her complaint seriously until she made a viral Facebook post. Now, number one, this shows how important social media is in order to highlight these stories. We wouldn't be talking about that if she didn't share her story. And the reason she shared her story is I just wanted support. I just wanted to know that there are people out there that have went through the same thing. And like I said, number two, it just shows how disastrous when these policies are that allow you to take a so-called moral stance. No, just do your job. I'm tired of hearing about people who won't prescribe certain medications or birth control or won't bake cakes for people, for certain people. Or I'm tired of it. No, if you're doing that job, do your job or don't do that job. If you're in a situation, look, conservatives always talk about free market, right? Oh, you just find another job if you're uncomfortable with doing your job, except in this situation, this situation, and this situation. No, do your job. Your job is to dispense medications that are prescribed to people. So do your job. It's not a hard concept. She was treated incredibly unfairly by both the company and the pharmacist themselves. I don't know if he's going to get fired for that, because he did break his own company's policy. So in that case, yes, I hope, because he did block her from other employees being able to service her at that time. Other than that, I think she does deserve, and she did get an apology from Walgreens, and I hope she gets some sort of, peace out of the situation. Look, she's already lost a child, and now having to go through this embarrassment. She deserves some sort of recompense for that. So I think that, look, I don't like these policies. I think that they shouldn't have these policies. I don't like the Hobby Lobby decision. I don't like any of that stuff. I think we should get out of other people's lives and what they do with their medication. You have your own personal beliefs. That's fine. You can have them. But that shouldn't extend into your job, if your job is to service other people. So that's just my thoughts on that. Okay. That's it. That's all I got for you guys today. If you haven't already, please give us a like and a share. Definitely appreciate that. Please subscribe if you haven't already. More clips will come up today, all throughout the day. If you missed any part of the show, always make sure, hit the bell, and go through to make sure that you can get all of our regular uploads. So it's a bit of a convoluted process in order to go and get all uploads and to get notifications of all uploads. But in case you forget or don't know, we have a schedule. We release a new clip pretty much every hour starting from 5 o'clock on. So if you want to catch our clips, that's when they get released. All right. So as I said, thank you all. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night to you, IT Nation. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place.
Are you kicking me out the door? You're kicking me out the door.